Good morning. How are you, sir?
I'm fine, thanks. Good to see you as well.
Yes. We would like to find out from you ahead of the World Food Day.
Yes.
How FAO in Tanzania is supporting this East African nation to avert hunger.
Yeah. Thank you so much. First and foremost, Tanzania being a member of the United Nations was part and parcel of the decision to formulate the Sustainable Development Goals, one of which was that to alleviate hunger in the world. So that's SDG 2. And SDGs, like other SDGs, you require that we all work as one. So FAO being a UN agency has a responsibility to support the government of Tanzania in achieving the goals of as outlined in the Sustainable Development Goal number 2, which is zero hunger. What we are doing is within the mandate that we have as a specialized agency, providing technical assistance to the government, whether in terms of developing policies, programs, or strategies that enhance productivity and increase incomes of farmers. We also in this country are supporting capacity development through bringing knowledge and good practices internationally for the country to be able to benefit from these new approaches. And the other thing we are doing in the country is supporting them to have evidence in order for them to be able to make decisions. So our work in agricultural statistics is meant to support the country to actually have credible data on which they can base their decision making. We are supporting them also in how to, in fact, assess and analyze the food security situation in their country, but also nutrition. And this we have been doing over the years. We've accelerated that work. And of course our work on resilience, because we know that the life in which a farmer lives currently is very complicated because of climate change. There's a lot of drought, challenges that farmers face. In some situations they have floods that come, but also increased pests and diseases as a result of the change of the environment. So these are things that we are doing and supporting, providing our technical assistance on a regular basis and working with government officials to ensure that they can be able to avert hunger. And we do that in rural areas because that's predominantly where the agriculture is taking place. That's where the rural poor actually live. And our connection of agriculture and poverty alleviation in this case is meant to be able to support the realization of that goal.
And what stands out in the agricultural sector here in Tanzania?
For quite some years running now, actually, Tanzania has been registering a high level of food self-sufficiency. There are certainly pockets where food availability and access is a challenge, but by and large, for quite some years now, Tanzania is what you call self-food sufficient. That doesn't happen, by accident, but I think largely because of the good policies and programs that they have, working with grassroots communities. In this country, decentralization is a key aspect, where you have agricultural extension services provided at local government. There are still challenges, of course, in having enough capacities of agricultural extensionists in all regions. But that has helped a lot in terms of supporting. The bottom-up planning as well, and which also brings in the local governments, is very important, where, in fact, the farmers are part and parcel of these planning processes through their local government structures. But also in this country, one of the things that stands out is the link between the government's role of decentralization, not decentralization, but industrialization, because that's now the focus of the country. Helping farmers to be able to add value and process what they are producing in order for them to be able to have incomes that can actually help them access other food that they are not able to grow. That stands out in this country, and you can see the effort and drive to have as much possible every region having some form of industries, whether they're cottage industries or whether they are mid or small industries. But the principle there is that there have to be value addition to help the local people to be able to have meaningful income.
And how do you perceive the role of women and youth in the agricultural sector?
Very important role. I'll start with the women, because the women, as we all know, are the breadwinners, are the people who actually grow the food that we eat. You know, the role that the women play in agriculture is essential for ensuring food security and nutrition, because they're the people who in fact provide the diets that we eat in our household. Whether you are a man or whether you are a kid, still the role of women is very important in ensuring that there is food, not only food, but there is balanced diets and in all the efforts that they are doing. And in this country, they are predominantly involved in food production. So they are very, very important. The youth are very important also, because increasingly in many of, not only in Tanzania here, but in many other countries, the population of youth now is higher than the overall population demographics. And the role of youth is important, but also a challenge in itself, because not so many youth are really attracted to agriculture because they really want quick gains. But where they have been involved, and we have quite a number of examples in this country where the youth have been involved in agricultural projects, you find that they have made a tremendous change in the way agriculture is perceived, because they are able to, for example, produce small livestock, whether it's poultry, whether it's goats, or whether they are involved in horticulture. You still see that they have this drive to add value to what they are doing, so that they can be able to access better markets. So they are key in driving that agenda of agriculture. The challenge is how to really engage them more meaningfully. But in this country, there's a lot of effort to do that. You see, at the government level, the government just recently launched what they call the Agriculture Sector Development Program, which is a 10-year program, to transform agriculture, deal with all these bottlenecks and challenges that the agriculture sector has been facing. And one of its main impetus is to move from subsistence to commercialization. Mindful that many of the smallholder farmers really grow for their own home consumption, which is okay. But they need incomes as well to be able to deal with other basic needs. So this program is a great opportunity that the country has to actually move subsistence farmers to another level of commercialization. I should also mention, for us in FAO, we carry out field projects. Those field projects are based on approaches that have been tested, internationally. We have a very nice example in Kagera region, where we have programs that we call based on climate smart agriculture, mindful that the climate is changing, and therefore it's very important that the way we do our agriculture also changes in such a way that farmers actually can sustain their production but also increase incomes. So we have that field project, which has which is also widely fits within the agricultural definition of crops, livestock, and fisheries, working with rural farmers, youth, women, and organizing them, empowering them to be able to make decisions on what they really want to grow and how they want to grow it, but also bringing approaches of farmer field schools where they can be able to learn and exchange knowledge by themselves, working in partnership with research institutions who have actually developed crop varieties that are resistant, for example, to drought, or resistant to pests, or high yielding, bringing all these partnerships with local government, research, and the government extension workers and the farmers to bear. So I think that this is a real flagship program for us in a range of areas. We've done aquaculture there, we have done livestock, particularly looking at small livestock of poultry and goats. but we have also already registered increased yields and productivity in terms of maize, in terms of cassava, but also bananas in that region.
But what are the key opportunities that you see, and what are the challenges that you see on this track towards 2030?
Yeah, like we say in this year's World Food Day theme, achieving zero hunger by 2030 is possible, definitely possible. The issue is how we achieve it. And more importantly for us, the key areas that we see, one is how we increase investment in the sector, whether it's not only actually government investment, but also private sector investment, but also other partners, bringing them on board to invest and support the development of agriculture in the country. The second thing is working in partnership. Like I said, the Agriculture Sector Development Program, Phase 2 of this country, is a big opportunity in terms of working across sectors. Quite often agriculture is seen as a domain of the Ministry of Agriculture. No, but the Agriculture Sector Development Program says, no, actually, to achieve food security, nutrition, you need all these other ministries that are important to uplift, the lives of farmers from one end to another. You need, for example, that roads are made, granaries are built, irrigation schemes are done. These lie in a different ministry altogether. Here also livestock and fisheries is separate from the Ministry of Agriculture. It's a different ministry. But you also have Ministry of Lands, where access to land is a key issue if we have to ensure that we deal with hunger. So bringing all these sectors together, bringing different actors, whether they are development partners or research or academia or farmers, all these together, working together, is a key message that we are putting forward in order for us to be able to achieve zero hunger by 2030. But also, you know that the SDGs have got this principle of leaving no one behind. There are many people in rural areas, disadvantaged, unable to access food because of the remoteness where they are placed, because of the challenges of climate change, which impact them much more than anybody else. So how do we work with these others to ensure that all of us actually are in the same move towards zero hunger?
And what is really happening, to fishermen who are maybe fishing around streams and rivers, and what is going on in terms of the fisheries sector?
Well, first and foremost, the definition of agriculture for FAO is about crops, it's about fisheries, it's about livestock, and it's about natural resource management, how we care about our forests to be able to support increased production. So on the fisheries aspect, that is a domain in which FAO is involved actually. And in this country, what we keep saying is that there's quite a lot of potential for fisheries development. One, because the country has got these huge water bodies. Talk about Indian Ocean, huge water body. You talk about lakes, Victoria, Ruwa, Tanganyika, all these lakes. Then you talk about rivers, you talk about streams. It's so rich in as far as fisheries is concerned. Of course, one of the biggest challenges that has been is the overfishing that is happening in these bodies. And when you talk about the ban is actually imposed in order to allow that these fisheries resources can regenerate, because there's been quite a lot of overfishing and illegal fishing and fishing undersized fish, which would in fact grow up into fish. So there is a lot of work that is being done with our support. One, in terms of having a master plan for the country. So FAO is providing technical support to the government to be able to develop a master plan on how they are going to manage their fisheries. But also there's work around how we can in fact create alternatives for fisheries through aquaculture. Aquaculture is all about fish farming, so that people don't only rely on the water bodies that are natural, but they can actually create their own waters in which they can be able to grow fish. We have in Zanzibar, for example, working with the government of Zanzibar and through financial support of COICA, set up a hatchery Hatchery is the structure where fish is produced. So we produce quality fingerlings, which then go to the farmers to be able to establish fish ponds and be able to grow fish. By the way, in many countries, particularly in Asia, Southeast Asia and Asian countries, most of the fish that is eaten there and exported comes from individual fish ponds. Why not in Tanzania? With all this endowment, it's possible that aquaculture can actually drive the fisheries sector here and beyond. So we are working with the government to see how they can be supported from technical point of view, but also attracting other development partners who would want to support that sector and be able to develop the fisheries sector.
And for this commemoration, it's one of the most celebrated commemorations around the world among UN member states. What are you planning to do in Tanzania? Where are you going to have these commemorations, and what have you set for us?
Yeah, here it's actually for the first time we are having what we call a World Food Week. In which case then we have lined up a number of activities for a week. In fact, as we speak, in a few hours I'll be going off to Morogoro, because in Morogoro tomorrow we shall be having a very interesting exchange among stakeholders on the importance of Tanzania, recommitting to zero hunger by 2030. There we shall have the Minister of Agriculture, we shall have experts from the Sokoine University of Agriculture, we'll have the farmers organization called Muviwata, we will have people from the private sector and other stakeholders with whom we shall be exchanging knowledge and debate about these issues. And this commemoration this year is led by what we call the Rome-based agencies. The Rome-based agencies are IFAD, World Food Program, and FAO, because we are all based in Rome and we are all working on food issues. So we linked up together to see how we can actually create awareness and recommit our efforts to ending hunger. So that will be the first phase of activities, but we will also be visiting a number of field projects together with the government officials. The minister has agreed to lead these visits in Iringa region, and we will continue to Mbeya, and then we go to Songwe, where the national celebrations of the World Food Day will be held on the 16th of October. That is for the mainland. And in Zanzibar, there's also already a set of activities beginning tomorrow, where the president actually will be opening up the food and agriculture exhibition, which will run throughout the week. And there will be different activities of debates and discussions and touring field activities, culminating into the World Food Day on 16th, to be held in Pemba in the case of Zanzibar.
Thank you very much.
Welcome. Thank you so much as well. We appreciate it.